What's up, everyone? This is Jeff Needs Sports. This is Jeff back at you. This is my weekly college football playoff rankings release. So I'm calling this week one because we just finished week one of the college football season as we watch Ole Miss dismantle Louisville live on television. So basically, this is what we do. I give you my rankings. I give you my explanation. And I invite all discourse, conversations, questions, arguments, straight up objections, if you will. So this is why we do this. We're not going to keep you too long, but I feel that I don't want to just put a rankings out there and under a nameless user or whatever. So here we go. This week, number one, Alabama. Anybody watched Alabama realizes why it's Alabama. They answered every question, did everything they needed to do, dismantled Miami. Two, I got Ohio State. Once again, I should go over my rankings criteria again. You have to be good. You have the polls have to think you're good. AP and coaches poll have to think you're good. You have to, of course, obviously you figure in the television marketing and all that. But you also have to have a path to the playoffs. So I understand there's going to be some really good teams. If you take a couple losses, the truth is your path's just not as easy. So all those factor in. So these are playoff rankings, how I feel the committee would vote, or how almost like odds of getting there, if you will, is an easier way to put it. So there we go. 1, Alabama. 2, Ohio State. Everybody thinks they look rougher than they did. I'm an Ohio State podcaster. Check out all the Ohio State work if you're a Buckeyes fan. They didn't look as bad as people think. And then now that we saw the entire week play out, they had a pretty good victory over Minnesota. The honest truth is their path is pretty good. They got a huge game against Oregon. Then they're going to be favored the rest of the season. So Ohio State at number 2. Oklahoma at 3. Really, really tough game. This is a tough one. They're getting a benefit of the doubt here that they just had a hiccup. I should say, I'm talking out both sides of my mouth because there's no excuse for letting Tulane hang with you, a team that was, couldn't even practice most of the week because of the hurricane. They had to move the venues and all that, but it is what it is. Real tough game against Tulane. Their schedule really lends itself to them, though. They have a couple decent games. Iowa State doesn't look as good as it was. I think they'll be favored in all their games, and I think they're going to win them. But they hit their own watch. Oklahoma's on probation, if you will, for Jeff Needs Sports. Georgia, number 4. I know everybody wants them number 2. The fact of the matter is they scored a field goal. They had a great win. I understand their defense is great. They scored 3 points against a Clemson team that gave up 45 to Ohio State, 6 months ago. So, do what you want. If you like them better than me, fine. There's no reason to put them at number 2. Alabama and Georgia are going to have to play to get to the playoffs. The chance of them finishing the season and going into the playoffs 1 and 2 are so slim that there's no reason for me to do it either. These are playoff rankings, not my top 25. And I don't necessarily know right now that Georgia did enough that night to be the second team in the country. Honestly, I got USC at 5. I think their path's good. I think their team's good. This is the one team that I'm really banking on my perception of them. I might be totally wrong about this. A lot of people have told me I am so far. I will cop to that. If USC's not as good as I think, it is what it is. I just think they're a really good team, and I think their path is pretty straightforward to the playoffs. Just win and you're in kind of team. 6, Notre Dame. Notre Dame and USC are going to have to play, so one of these is going to be wrong. Notre Dame looked really good for most of the game against Florida State. It turned out they needed a field goal to win it, but I thought they just looked like a good team. They looked like a physical team. Basically, Notre Dame is at 6. Cone was way better than I thought he was going to be. So that's the difference. I thought Jack Cone looked great. Kyle Hamilton's he's without a doubt one of the best players in football, made one of the best defensive players I ever saw. Their schedule is kind of the opposite. They got a pretty tough schedule, but if they go undefeated in that schedule, they're in, no doubt about it. So I got Notre Dame at 6. Obviously, I think USC is slightly better than Notre Dame. We get to find out. That's good news. 7, Iowa. Here's the thing about Iowa. They looked great. They're a good team, and their path is straightforward. you get Iowa State, who's going to be ranked around the top 10 this week when they play them, and then you got a straight shot to the Big Ten title game against Ohio State. Beat Ohio State, you're in. Let's put it this way: Iowa goes undefeated, they're in. I know that goes for a lot of teams, but Iowa goes undefeated, they're in, and they looked really good. And I don't see I don't really see losses on their schedule until Ohio State as of now. 8, Texas A&M. Essentially, it's this: they're in the SEC. They're going to get a chance to play a lot of teams. The AP poll and the coaches poll is going to love them just like they did last year. And they looked good enough the other day. So this is more of an odds thing than a team thing. I don't think they're the 8th best team. I think they're good, but another shot. And it's another team that win and you're in. A lot of teams are like that. I understand. We're a game in the season. So Texas A&M at 8. Number 9, Cincinnati. They got it laid out for them. They got to win all their games, but they're getting the benefit of the doubt. The polls are giving them every chance to go undefeated. We thought the Indiana game was going to be a bigger game than it is, but still a Big Ten game. Okay, it is what it is. And then they get a huge matchup against Notre Dame. They knock off Notre Dame and they go undefeated. Like they're in really, really good shape. 10, Oregon. They looked great at times last week. They looked all right at times last week. We don't know about Thibodeau. They've got to play Ohio State, but if they beat Ohio State, they're absolutely they'll be higher probably than the 10th best team in the country. And it's another Pac-12 schedule that's not super tough. They should, if they're good enough to beat Ohio State, they'll win most games. So I got Oregon at 10, even though did not think that would happen going into this season. But it was with North Carolina losing, with Miami losing, big LSU getting blown out. We really, and I shouldn't say blown out, but solidly defeated. Like this my list changed quickly. Number 11, UCLA. They've got 2 wins. They have very, very one of the most impressive wins of the weekend over UCLA. They look like the better team in most phases of that game. I like what they're doing. I'm not a Chip Kelly fan, but I appreciate how they played. And I can't believe it's another Pac-12 team on the list, but there you go. They're going to get their shot. They're going to get their shot at the other 2, and we'll see what happens. But I can't deny what I saw on the field. They look good. So I got UCLA at 11. Number 12, Florida. It's another one of these SEC teams. We know if they win all their games they're in, obviously they're going to get a shot at Georgia. And right now, considering Georgia, needed a interception, a turnover for a touchdown to beat Clemson. I don't know if Florida can't score, enough points at this moment. It sounds like they're a little shaky at quarterback. I'm not a Florida expert, but once again, they win all of their games. They're definitely in. And if they lose one, they're going to be in a conversation. So you just got to keep them up there until the voters drop them a little. I can't drop them yet. 13, Penn State, just because they're getting credit for beating Wisconsin. I don't know how good of a victory that is yet. I don't know where to put it. I don't think they're that great, but they are 1-0. They're ranked. They're going to get a shot at Ohio State. They're going to get a shot at Auburn, which is huge. They're going to get credit for getting a shot at Auburn. So they're in good shape. Their schedule bodes well, and they're 1-0. That's the most important thing. Be 1-0. 14, Iowa State. Dropped to 14 this week. They looked really bad the other day. This is between them and next. Okay, I'll just go with this. 15 is Texas. So I got Iowa State at 14, Texas at 15. This is tough. I jumped Texas up. They looked pretty good. They were on the borderline. We had 4 teams drop out. So this is basically an Iowa State's better than Texas. No, Iowa State did not look better than Texas on Saturday, for sure. If they played next week, I don't think I would give I think Texas wins. So this is where I just went with like what I know I saw coming into the season, how good they played last year, what they have returning. I'm giving them kind of a pass, and they've got Iowa this week to prove me wrong. So I'm like, since they have a chance to justify their ranking in 5 days, I went ahead and left them ahead of Texas, but it's close. And Texas at 15, essentially they look good. There's not a lot of these giant, the major conferences left, with undefeated teams, just because that's how it's going to start to be. Texas looked good enough. They jumped up. They get a shot at Oklahoma, which is really important. They win that. They're in the driver's seat. So Texas at 15. And 16, the first defeated team on the list. 0-1 Clemson. Everybody's killing me for it. I know nobody thinks Clemson's the 16th best team in the country. I keep saying that. I'm not sure of that. I do not know how good they looked against Georgia. I don't know if that was 100% Georgia defense or not. Nobody can tell. No, do I think they're 16th best team? Probably not. I honestly think they're probably like if you had a round robin, they're probably closer to 10. But I'm sorry, if you score a field goal, I don't know what to judge you on. I have no idea what your criteria is. Maybe Georgia's got the best defense we've ever seen in college football, modern college football. That's fine. I don't know that yet. Give me a couple weeks on Clemson, but I do realize that if they win the rest of their games, they're going to be in the conversation for the playoffs. They're going to have a shot at, some of these other teams, But as of now, they need an argument. They need help, and we're assuming that they're as good as we thought they were. So I left them at 16, but they're another team that is they're on watch. We all know that coming into next week, there's at least 2 teams that aren't going to be on this list because they play each other. So it's exciting. It's fun. I appreciate everybody's comments, everybody's insight, the text, the arguments that I start. I try to justify by saying these are my college football playoff rankings, not who I think are the best teams in college football, because here's the thing, that never matters. It only matters who gets to the playoffs and who plays. So I do not care who, the argument. Yes, I know there's going to be a 2-loss team that's going to be better than a 0-loss team. I don't care. I'm worried about who gets in the playoffs. That's my job to do that. So this is Jeff from Jeff Needs Sports. I appreciate everybody for listening and watching. Check me out at jhunt006 on Twitter. Jeff Needs Sports on Facebook if you want to keep up with my rankings every week. NFL rankings come out later this week, which are a lot of fun. You want to talk? You think college football fans are crazy? NFL fans are just batshit. I'm just being honest, people. It's wild, but those rankings are cooked. They are in the warming oven, if you will, and they will be out soon. So thanks everybody. Check out offtheballnetwork.com for all your sports needs, and have a great